This is a story about the people who came before us. Not before us the way you're thinking, not older tribes, not lost cities. Something stranger than that. Other kinds of human being that existed first and didn't last. It comes from a clay tablet, written down thousands of years ago in the oldest part of the world. And what it says is this: we were not the first try. Before the gods arrived at us, they made 6 other versions of a person, and every one of them carried a single fault the makers couldn't fix, so each was quietly set aside while they began again. The tablet doesn't just tell you this happened, it counts them. It names what went wrong in each body and where each was sent to live out its days. 6 attempts, looked over and put somewhere else before the hands that shaped them finally reached the one that became us. Stay with me for a while, and I'll walk through them slowly. The 6 the gods made before you. So where does something like this even come from? Far to the south, where 2 great rivers slow and spread before they reach the sea, stood the first cities in the world. Small towns of mud brick, raised on low hills above the marsh. Hot by day, cool and open beneath the night sky. The people there had no paper. When they wanted to keep a thing, they wrote it into wet clay with a cut reed, pressing small marks across the soft surface, then let it harden in the sun. Words kept that way could last. And when a tablet finally cracked, a younger hand would copy it onto a fresh one, and later, someone would copy that. So a single account could travel down through hundreds of years, handed along from person to person. Picture the one doing the copying. A young scribe bent over a low table in the dim, a fresh square of damp clay in front of him. The older cracked slab propped at his side, working through it mark by mark so nothing would be lost. When the first one finally crumbled to pieces, he may not have believed a word of what he was setting down. It didn't matter. His task was only to carry it forward, and he did. And here it is. That's how this one lived. Not a single stranger's dream, but something taught, repeated, and set down again and again by different hands. It's the only reason we can still open it tonight. And in its oldest form, the story doesn't begin with people at all. It begins with the gods and a problem. The problem was work. In those early days, there was no one to do the hard labor of the world but the gods themselves. They were the ones who had to dig the long channels that carried water to the fields. They were the ones who hauled the heavy baskets of wet earth day after day with no end to it anywhere in sight. For a long time they bore it. Then one night, they had borne enough. They threw down their tools in the dark and wept. And their crying grew loud enough to reach the one who slept in the deep water below everything. Think about what that labor actually was, night after night, with no rest at the end of it. The channels had to be dug by hand and kept clear, or the water would not reach the grain, and without the grain, there was nothing. The baskets of wet earth had to be lifted and carried and emptied and filled again, and the mud was heavy and the sun was hard, and the work came back the next morning exactly as it had been left. There was no one below the gods to hand it to. They were the bottom of everything, and they held the whole weight of the world on their own backs. That is the thing that finally broke. Not their strength, but their willingness to go on carrying it alone. He was the clever one among them, the god of fresh water and quiet answers. When they woke him and told him what was wrong, he didn't shout, and he didn't take sides. He thought. Then he told them there was a way out. Take the soft clay from the edge of the river, he said, and shape a new creature from it. put a little of the god's own life into that clay to wake it up. Let this new thing lift the baskets and dig the channels instead. His mother, the deep water herself, had roused him to solve it. And standing beside him was the great lady whose hands knew how to form a living body out of mud, the way a potter pulls a cup up out of nothing. Between the two of them, the first real person was drawn up out of the ground. But a first try is rarely a finished one, and what happened next started as a party and slowly turned into a test. To celebrate this new creature, the gods held a feast, and at the feast there was wine, and the two makers grew loose and bold with each other the way old friends do. The lady who shaped the body made a small boast over her cup. "The form of a person is mine to command," she said. "I can make it fine or make it poor exactly as I please. Whether it lives easy or lives hard, sits in my fingers and nowhere else." The clever god heard her and answered without heat. "Whatever you make," he told her, "however odd, however broken, I will find a place for it. I'll weigh out a life to match it, so nothing your hands form is ever left with no worth at all. Everything that follows hangs on that one exchange." She would test him again and again with the worst her fingers could make, and he had bound himself to answer every single time. Neither of them, in that easy moment over the wine, seemed to guess how strange the things she was about to bring up out of the clay would turn out to be. And so a quiet contest opened between them. Not a fight, a game of skill. She would mold, and he would find the purpose. 6 times her hands would move over the clay, and 6 times a broken figure would rise into the lamplight, and 6 times he would keep his word. If these old and forgotten corners of the past bring you comfort on the night sleep is slow to come, you're welcome to drift back here another evening. But for now, let the counting begin. Slowly, with the first. The first one she lifted from the clay looked, at a glance, like any of us. It had the right length of arm, the right set of shoulder. In the low light, you would have thought it whole. But when it reached out toward the world, nothing stayed. Its hands would not close. The fingers lay loose and open, and could not curl around a cup or hold the handle of a tool, so that whatever touched its palm slid straight off and dropped to the floor. In a world that lived by its grip, by pulling rope, kneading dough, carrying jars up from the water, a person who couldn't hold on seemed like a person good for nothing. The mother set it down and waited to see if her friend's promise would survive where her making had failed. He looked at it a long moment. Then he carried it, not out to the fields where a firm hand is everything, but into the cool inner rooms of the ruler, and stood it there at the king's side. "Here," he said, "worth isn't measured by what your hands can crush or carry. It's measured by being near, by watching, by standing steady beside a great one. Let this be its life." Picture the room he carried it into. Cool stone after the heat outside, the light low and steady, the ruler seated, and the whole quiet order of the place arranged around him. There was no jar to lift here, no rope to haul, nothing that would ever ask the fingers to close. There was only the standing, the being near, the watching of a great one's back through the long hours. And so the one whose hands would never grip a single tool was given the softest and most guarded work in all the land. always present, always trusted to be there, and never once needing to seize a thing. The mother watched him place it and saw that the promise held. Then she wet her palms and turned back to the clay. What rose the second time carried a different kind of sorrow. Its body was sound, arms strong, legs firm, but its eyes had been left shut against the day. It came into a world full of color and edge and could take in none of it. The flame of a lamp, the gold of the low sun on the river, the faces leaning in close to look at it. All of that stayed on the far side of a door that would never open. To live without sight, in a place where so much passed between people without a word, where reading a face could mean the difference between safety and danger, was counted among the heaviest losses of all. Yet the clever god found no loss in it. He found an ear left completely free, undragged by all the things the eyes chase after. So he handed it the whole art of sound, the plucking of strings, the shaping of a tune, the trick of holding a crowded room silent, with nothing but a voice carried well. There is a kind of patience that only comes to those who cannot see. The eye is always being pulled to the door, to the movement in the corner, to the bright thing passing by, and a mind behind two open eyes is forever half somewhere else. This one had none of that pulling. Its whole attention could pour down into a single sense and stay there, gathering every small turn of a sound the rest of them would have missed. What looked from the outside like the emptiest of lives held, inside it, a stillness the seeing could never reach. He brought it before the court, not to watch, but to sit and play through the long evenings. And so the one who couldn't meet the light became the very thing the whole hall went quiet to hear. For her third try, the trouble moved lower in the body. This one had the bright eyes and the willing hands the others had gone without. But its feet wouldn't carry it. The legs hung weak and turned beneath it, unable to bear its weight or take it even across a room. Everything past arm's reach, the road, the field, the far bank, was shut away from it, as if a wall stood around wherever it sat. And yet a wall, if you look at it another way, is only a room. The world had decided that a person was their movement, where they could go, what they could reach, how far they could carry themselves from the place they began. This one asked a different question without meaning to. What is a person who cannot go anywhere but can make anything? The answer was not sad. It sat still, and under its unmoving hands the dull metal turned, slowly, into things men would cross the whole country to own. Among people forever on the move between the river and the grain and the busy market, a body that couldn't walk seemed sure to be left behind by the whole world. But the god of clever answers understood his own promise well by now, and he didn't pause for long. He gave this one the sitting crafts, the patient work that asks nothing of the legs. He laid out soft silver and fine bright metal in front of it and taught it to draw the shining stuff into ornaments and cups and the small precious things the great ones love more than gold. A worker like this never had to rise from the bench. The world it couldn't walk toward was simply brought in, dull and heavy, and left its hands changed into something worth keeping. So the one whose feet had failed became a maker of beauty that outlived far stronger men. The fourth figure suffered in a way none before it had. Its trouble wasn't a strength left out. It was a body that let go of what it should have held inside. A slow, wasting sickness that leaked its life away and left it weak and failing. This one couldn't be handed a clever job to make its fault not matter, because the fault was the flesh itself. And here the clever god did something he hadn't done with any of the others. He didn't send it somewhere new. He mended it. He took it and washed it in charmed water, drawing the sickness up and out of it until the wasting eased and the body could hold together again. Watch what that mending cost him, though, because it matters. The others he had only to look at and see clearly, and then carry to the right place, and the work was done. This one he had to hold. He had to draw the water himself and wash the failing body with his own hands and coax the sickness up out of flesh that did not want to let it go. A place can be found for a fault in a single afternoon. A cure asks the maker to bend close and stay. And maybe that is the reason this one was kept in the story at all. It is an easy thing to hand a flaw a title and move along. It is a different thing entirely to lean over what is dying and remain there until it turns back toward life. The tablet lets us watch him do the harder thing just once, so that we would know he could. It was the one version repaired rather than reassigned. Proof that the promise wasn't a single trick repeated, but a real care that would meet each broken thing on its own terms. The fifth shape she made was a woman, whole and well to look at, but with a body that would never bring a child. In that world, a woman's worth was tied tightly to the children she carried, and a life without them was thought by many to be an empty one. So this seemed, to the plain eye, the cruelest lack of all. But sit with why it seemed so cruel, because the cruelty was never in her. It was in the single narrow measure the world had chosen. That world looked at a woman and asked one question of her body before any other. And if the answer was no, it stopped looking. The clever god simply refused to stop where everyone else did. He kept looking past the one closed door until he found the many that stood open. He led her into the household of the palace women and gave her the standing and the fine skill of the loom, the turning of thread into cloth, the ordering of a great house, the daily weight of 100 things that would fall apart without a steady presence to keep them. No one in those rooms would ask her the single question the world outside had asked. They would ask only whether the work was good, and it was. Her worth would be counted some other way, and counted still. The sixth and last belonged to no single kind. It was neither man nor woman, and fit into none of the boxes the world had ready for a person. Every place the world had built came in twos. The men's work and the women's work, the men's rooms and the women's rooms, one side of the line or the other. And a person was expected to fall cleanly onto one side of it at birth and stay there. This one fell on neither. And a thing that belongs to no side, that owes itself to no group, is the very thing a wary ruler learns to trust, because it carries no loyalty away from him and keeps no secret for anyone else. In a place where nearly everything ran along the line between the two, a body that stood outside that line had, it seemed, nowhere it was meant to go. But the maker of answers gave it the one place where being unlike everyone else was not a problem, but a reason to be trusted. He set it near the ruler, in charge of the private rooms, a keeper of hidden things, a post given only to those a great one relies on completely. There is a lesson folded in there too, plain as the others, that the very thing which shuts every ordinary door can be the one that swings open the last and most guarded one. The world's boxes had no space for it. The one who mattered most had nothing but space. What the world read as belonging nowhere, the maker read as belonging only to the one it served. And with that, the counting was done. 6 shapes drawn from the clay, 6 faults the world would have thrown away, and 6 lives found for them instead. But the story doesn't end on the 6th, because after all of them had been placed, the makers reached into the clay one final time, and what came up was different. This one's hands closed around what it held. Its eyes opened to the light. Its feet carried it wherever it wished to go. Its body kept its own strength inside. Its line could carry on. And it stood square and whole in the world without needing anyone to find a special corner for it. It wasn't grander than the 6. It wasn't stronger or wiser or worth more. It was simply the shape that held together. The one body that had, all at once, the very things each of the others had been missing one at a time. Line them up in your mind as you lie there, and you can almost see how it was arrived at. The hands that failed, then were fixed. The eyes that were shut, then opened. The feet that would not move, then walked. The body that leaked its strength, then kept it. The line that would have ended, then went on. The one who fit nowhere, then fit. It is as if the 6 were not 6 mistakes at all, but 6 lessons. Each one teaching the makers, without a word, the single thing the next attempt would need. And when there was nothing left to learn, we were what remained. Notice what that makes us, if the old tablet has it right. Not a first thought, but a last one. Not the plan, but the thing arrived at after the plan kept coming out wrong. There is something almost humbling in it. That the body you are resting in tonight, the hands lying still on the blanket, the eyes growing heavy as I speak, are the settled sum of 6 earlier tries that never quite worked. Where they were each short by a single piece, this one was short by nothing. And that is the shape that stayed. That is the one the makers kept. That, the tablet says, is us, so there it is. The whole of it. Pressed into clay by a hand, gone for 4,000 years, and copied down the long line of years until it reached tonight. 6 tries, looked over and gently set aside, and then one more. That lasted. It's worth staying with before you drift off. That the old account never once calls us the best of them, or the last that will ever be. It only calls us the one that held. The lamp that once lit its reading has been cold longer than any nation now alive has stood. The words outlasted the lamp and the hand and the city that raised them both, somewhere under the floor of a temple that hasn't heard a living voice in a very long time. The slab still lies in the dark, saying quietly what it has always said. That we were not the first, only the one that stayed. Let that rest easy in you now, and let the rest of the night be still.